glad that you found your way to my attic. I'm Mrs. McGregor, and I like to come up here and look at all the old things that one can find in an attic. They tell me so much about the past, how people lived or what they wore. We live in a country that celebrated its 200th birthday on July 4th, 1976. That makes our country pretty old, doesn't it? Do you remember what that very special 200th birthday was called? Yes, that's right, a bicentennial. And there were bicentennial celebrations that went on from one end of our country to the other. Your birthday always falls on the same date each year, doesn't it? The same thing is true of our country. Its birthday always comes on the 4th of July. Would you like to know why July 4th is known as our country's birthday? Well, now, to find out, we would have to go way, way back in time to a time when there was no country called the United States. Oh, the land was here, and it was lived on by people we call Indians. For thousands of years, the Indians lived here alone. They paddled their canoes on the lakes and rivers. They hunted in the forests. Then, people began to come in ships from other countries. They wanted to make their homes in America. Englishmen settled along the east coast of America. Their settlements were called colonies, and the people living in them, colonists. There were 13 English colonies, and each one was like a separate little country with its own name: Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Virginia. Yet each colony still belonged to England. The King of England made the laws and rules that the people in America had to obey. Trouble started when the King of England wanted money for his government. He told the American colonists they must pay him money, or taxes, on some of the things sent to them from England. The colonists did not like being ordered about. They began to write letters. They wrote letters to the men in England who made the laws. They asked for a change in the laws. Finally, the English took off all the taxes but one. They left the tax on tea. The colonists liked to drink tea, but they did not like to pay a tax for it. Two colonists in the city of Boston, John Hancock and Sam Adams, began to talk against the English. They said that England was taking their freedom away. They wanted liberty, the freedom to live as they pleased. In time, everyone in Boston knew that John and Sam did not like the English. They called John Hancock, Sam Adams, and their friends the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty asked the people of Boston not to buy English tea. They put up signs in the street. They told the English to take their ships and their tea back to London. But the English would not sail back to London. The Sons of Liberty had a plan. One cold December night, they dressed up as Indians. They went down to Boston's harbor and sneaked onto the English ships. Then they threw all the tea into the water. Well, when news of this Boston tea party reached England, King George became very angry. He sent his red-coated soldiers to Boston to make the Americans do as he said. As the troubles grew and grew with England, the colonies understood that they would have to work together to put a stop to their problems with England. So, men were chosen from each colony to meet in Philadelphia to talk things over. These men decided to send a letter to the king. In it, they asked him to change the laws they thought were unfair and to take his soldiers out of Boston. The king did not answer that letter. Instead, he sent ships loaded with more soldiers to America. Many of the colonists began to feel that they would have to fight for their rights, and they began to get ready. These colonists were called Minutemen because they could get ready to fight in less than a minute. The Minutemen hid their guns and ammunition in the village of Concord, 18 miles from Boston. Boston was full of the red-coated English soldiers. Oh, the redcoats seemed to be everywhere, watching, always watching the colonists. What they didn't know was that they, too, were being watched. A fellow by the name of Paul Revere and some of the other Sons of Liberty watched every move the redcoats made. On the 18th of April, 1775, Paul Revere learned that the English soldiers had found out about the hidden guns. The redcoats planned to march on Concord and take the guns. Oh, the villagers and Minutemen must be warned. Plans were made, and late that night, Paul Revere and a man by the name of William Dawes stole past the redcoats. They galloped toward Concord. As the two men sped through the sleeping villages, they leaned from their horses and pounded on doors. They called again and again, "The redcoats are coming! The redcoats are coming!" Quickly, the villagers sprang from sleep to action. Men, some still in their pajamas, grabbed their guns and dashed out of their houses. Early the next morning, the captain of the Minutemen saw a long line of English soldiers marching toward Concord. They stepped to the music of fifes and drums. Oh, they looked very important in their red and gold uniforms. They were in every way splendid soldiers. The Minutemen were farmers and teachers and shopkeepers. Oh, they had no uniforms and very little training in how to fight. The captain turned to his men and he said, "Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." No one knows for sure who fired the first shot, but someone did. And instantly both sides began shooting. 8 Minutemen died in the gunfire. 10 more were wounded, and the rest scattered over the countryside. The redcoats cheered and marched on toward Concord. Oh, they were sure they were going to have an easy time of it taking the colonists' supplies. Well, there were two things they didn't know. During the night, the colonists had moved their ammunition to a new hiding place, and the alarm of Paul Revere and William Dawes had spread for miles around. When the redcoats got to Concord, there were hundreds of Minutemen waiting for them. Oh, what a surprise! The redcoats found themselves outnumbered and fired upon from every direction at once. They began to run for dear life back to Boston as fast as they could go. But the angry colonists were everywhere along the road. They fired from behind every stone wall and house and woodpile and tree. By the time the English troops reached Boston, almost 300 of the redcoats had fallen, and a war between the colonies and England had begun. Now, even though a war had started, there were many colonists that still wanted to belong to England. So day after day, the men meeting in Philadelphia argued about what the colonies should do. At last, they agreed that the colonies should separate from England and become an independent country. Do you know what it means to be independent? It means that you can do things on your own. You make your own decisions. You try to take care of yourself without help from others. And that's what the colonies wanted, to take care of themselves, to make their own laws, to be free and independent of England. 5 of the men meeting in Philadelphia were chosen to write a paper saying that the colonies wanted to become an independent country. A young man from Virginia, tall, red-headed Thomas Jefferson, did most of the writing. The words Jefferson wrote were important words, wonderful words. He wrote that all people are created equal, that all people have the right to life, liberty, and the right to try to find happiness. He said that people have the right to say how they shall be governed. And he said that the 13 colonies were now the free and independent United States of America. What Thomas Jefferson wrote was called a Declaration of Independence. When he finished writing the Declaration of Independence, it was read to the other men meeting in Philadelphia. The men talked and argued and made a few changes, but at last they all agreed to accept what was written. Each man signed his name to the Declaration. The first man to sign was the leader of the meeting, John Hancock. He wrote his name in big, bold letters. He said he wrote his name large so that the king would not need his glasses to read it. When the Declaration of Independence was read to the crowd waiting outside the State House in Philadelphia, there was silence as the people listened carefully. Then there was wild cheering. The big bell in the State House was rung. It rang out loud and clear, telling all who could hear it that the United States had been born. That important bell became known as the Liberty Bell, and it can still be seen in Philadelphia. July 4th, 1776, was the day that the men meeting in Philadelphia agreed to accept the Declaration of Independence. So that was the true beginning, the birth of a new country, the United States. And that's why to this day, July 4th is known as our country's birthday. Oh, a lot has happened since July 4th, 1776. For that matter, a lot happened in this land before our country was born. I wonder if you would like to find out more about our country's past. If you come back to my attic, we'll explore it together and see what we can find out about our country's yesterdays. I think that could be a lot of fun and very interesting. Will you come back? Oh, I do hope so. I'll see you then. Goodbye.
The preceding program was made possible by a grant from the Ohio Department of Education.